This week, the Mighty Nine face a mighty foe upon the Lucidian Ocean. But first things first, when is this album dropping? One of the strangest ad spots, but probably not the weirdest one so far. My name is Luna, and we are jumping straight into a combat.
And with that, roll initiative!
Oh, just a note up top. Basically, almost this entire episode was combat. I'm not going to do a full blow by blow. I really recommend checking out Crit Role stats if you want to see like exactly what happened on every single turn. But I will be hiding some of the awesome moments and the new abilities that we see. This map is so gorgeous and that giant mini is so freaking cool. They are fighting this storm giant called Thunum, a deep scion mage, and a bunch of lesser scions of Ukutoa. Kingsley's turn is up first, and we get to see him using some of his Blood Hunter abilities, the highest level Blood Hunter in Critical Role history, as Taliesin and Travis kind of keep competing with each other about this. He activates his Crimson Rite of the Dawn, which allows a Blood Hunter to imbue their weapon with magical energy, essentially making a non-magical weapon magical, and they do extra damage, but in exchange they have to roll one of their Blood Hunter dice and they take the amount of damage that they roll. Oh, it's a Hemocraft dice, that's what it's called. And of course, it was one of these kinds of abilities where you sort of have to take damage to activate a Blood Hunter ability that ultimately ended in Molly's death. So hopefully Kingsley is going to be a little more cautious than Molly was with it. Kingsley also has a new sword which he uses to get some temporary hit points. I believe that this is the Acheron sword from Explorer's Guide to Wildmap because it has this ability called Dark Blessing, which allows you to get these temporary hit points. During Veth's turn, she taps into her new wizarding powers as she has taken a level in Wizard, casting Hypnotic Pattern, and it's clear that she has been, doing some training with Caleb.
Pull out a stick of incense and a crystal vial with phosphorescent material and crack one and rub it in the palm of my hand, making a sigil, drawing it in the air.
Spells are being slung, swords are being slashed, and partway through this fight, the storm giant comes up to the temple and smashes his fists into it, smashing it open and allowing this deep scion mage to head inside. Yasha goes into a rage and dashes towards the giant, pulling her new sword, the Skull Saber.
So this is a cleaver-like blade that is dark red when it is just, chilling, hanging out on its own. And it glows a vibrant orange when it's getting ready for battle. Like right now. Yes, it's got a little fire damage that it's attached to it.
I couldn't find what this sword is. I think maybe it might be a homebrew, or maybe it's just like been a sword that's been given a name. I couldn't work it out. If you know what it is, let me know in the comments. Of course, Yasha was in need of a new sword because the one that she was using at the end of Campaign 2 was actually Lady Kima's that had been lent to her for her fight at Cognosa.
If you go out there and get killed and don't come back, I'm gonna find you, I'm gonna kill you.
Okay.
She hands you the handle of the blade.
Jester rushes up and casts Earthquake, which is an 8th level spell, in an attempt to collapse the temple and stop the mage and all the scions from getting in any further. This knocks the giant prone, which lands on Yasha, which is kind of funny, and Caleb activates his Storm Rider boots.
And I go into the air and I'm going to zip right along over his body.
Okay.
Close enough so that the boots scorch his body with lightning, and as I swing by, I'm dragging a lodestone up my arm and I drag a disintegrate beam across his entire body.
Oh, shit!
I just love this stuff. I know it can be kind of a nightmare to balance for high level combats. I'm kind of getting up there at the moment with my home game, but just, these huge spells with these huge amounts of damage is just like so satisfying. Bo does some dope monk shit to get down into the temple, striking the mage with her staff Belabor, and the mage is slammed into the wall and the temple is crashing down around them. Light begins to pour into the temple from outside as the ground begins to quake, and snakes start to swarm out of the walls.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
The giant finally gets back up again and slams its fist into the temple once more, basically sending all of them careening down to a lower level. This was such a fun way of getting them from one part of the temple to the next. Marisha makes a comment about it being kind of like a Mortal Kombat stage, and I definitely got those video game type vibes. It's a great way of keeping the pace of things moving along, getting them further in without them feeling like they have to sort of stay in the one spot. And again, we get to see another beautiful new battle map, and I loved seeing Matt adjusted on the fly to account for all of the events that had happened. They continue to trade blows with the giant while the mage is trying to dimension door out, but Ford casts Counterspell, and Veth gets the "how do you want to do this" on the giant.
I would like to do an elaborate and unnecessary bank shot. Yes, and hopefully striking a few snakes on the way. And then soaring right between Jester's legs somehow and landing right between the eyes of the beast.
And Yasha gets the how do you want to do this on the mage?
How do you want to do this?
Okay, so I'm just going to float right behind him. And from the back, just sticking the blade in his belly, the back, the lower back. And I'm gonna start pulling it up.
Jester ends the earthquake, and all of these lesser scions start pouring into the temple. And before the Mighty Nine even has a chance to think or to search for the cloven crystal that the mage had, which, remember, is the key to unlocking Ukutoa, one of these scions with a natural 20 manages to find the crystal straight away.
And then
They use their action to search.
slams his fist down into this sigil that was mostly covered by stone on the far end of the chamber.
You were right, the
As it
floor
does-
was different.
Light begins to emit from the center of this bright yellow, almost like sickly jaundiced yellow energy begins to fill the chamber from that side. And these creatures go,
Ukutoa has been released! I know it's not great for the world that Ukutoa's out, but it was great. I was so excited about this. So Ford, realizing that Ukutoa has been unleashed, feels a cold and dark presence, a dark energy, but it is not of Ukutoa. It is of Zahir, the cloaked serpent. So Zahir was the creator of Ukutoa, but once Zahir was locked behind the divine gate, Ukutoa sort of started reigning instead, and Zahir was not happy about that. So the followers of Zahir locked him away using these cloven crystals. Ford attempts to cast Arcane Gate so they can get out, but Zahir wants answers. He is angry and he does not let them leave. There is a statue here in this temple, which was originally a temple of Zahir, which has 3 serpents' heads coming out of it, and this is a conduit which Zahir uses to speak to the party. And Ford's got some explaining to do.
Traitorous failure. False god. Foolish pretender. It will not escape punishment. And you carry the mark of its chosen. Explain before I bring this temple upon you all.
Ford attempts to persuade the cloaked serpent that they are here to help, but with a persuasion roll of 8 is not particularly convincing, and Zahir demands that one of them takes a pact, a mark that can be used to bind Ukutoa once more. He does offer a boon, a blessing, to whoever will take this pact, but this mark can also be used to punish the person if they don't act in Zahir's interests. So obviously this is a very carefully considered choice that someone needs to make.
I like boons. I'm in. I'm interested. Right here.
Oh, okay, Kingsley, just getting on in there straight away, no hesitation. Ford, though, feeling responsible for what happened, says that he is the one who has to do it. He has to take the mark of Zahir. It's his mess. He's going to clean it up. So he accepts, and he feels this flame burning all through his body, and he has to choose the embrace of the shadow or to climb the mountain's peak. I'm assuming that either one he chose would have resulted in a different weapon or a different ability, but he chooses to climb the mountain, and the statue of Zahir cracks open, and inside is a sword called the Fane of the Spire King. Matt confirms that this is not a vestige. It's not one of the weapons that was created during the Calamity, but it is a legendary weapon. Ford already has a vestige in the Star Razor, so giving him another one would be pretty wild. However, despite this being essentially a gift for Ford,
You've been given a new start, so your choice is between light and dark matter, and this has a little bit of a dark connotation to it. So,
And here you are.
well, it's not for me, and I'll extend the hilt to Kingsley.
Oh, you're giving him the rapier?
Are you sure?
I suppose we'll find out, won't we?
I thought this was a really interesting choice, but it also made a lot of sense. Like I said, Ford already has a vestige, the Star Razor. It's a very powerful sword. It has a lot of cool abilities. It has a lot of abilities that Ford uses regularly, and it also is very important to Ford's story. It was sort of a big part of Campaign 2 and a big part of Ford's character growth. So it would make sense that he wouldn't want to use a different sword. And this is a chance for Kingsley to sort of prove himself, I suppose, with this new weapon. Tapping into his pact, Ford knows that Uk'otoa is loose somewhere in the southern part of the Lucidian Ocean, so the party try and decide what to do next. They know they need a boat, and they know that they need allies. Veth is arguing very heavily that they go to Darktoe, which is the sort of pirate haven that the Mighty Nine were banished from in Campaign 2. I think they were all really disappointed to be banished from that location because it's really cool and fun, and like, who doesn't want to hang out on a pirate island? Because, you know, pirates are cool. So Jester, who apparently has been messaging the Plank King regularly, sends him a message to see if he'd be willing to help.
Plank King! There's a big god of a serpent named Uk'otoa who just got released. He's going to wreak havoc on everything! We need help!
I've told you time and time again, stop messaging me. I swear, one more time, I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna cut your throat.
I'm very happy that we got a very silly sending from Jester. And this whole scene actually made me think about how messed up the sending spell is, because there is no way to block it. It's just, it could happen at any time. Exandria needs like restraining orders for the sending spell or something. Jester would be in court like every other day if that was the case. In the end, they decide to teleport to Nicodranus, so Caleb takes them to the Lava Chateau, and here on the Menagerie Coast, they can already see the signs of Uk'otoa. They can see a storm on the horizon, and there has been talk of people having horrible visions of cities being destroyed, oceans churning, and many yellow eyes. They head to the docks to get a ship, but most of them are gone because the naval presence here has been mobilized to go and investigate what this storm is. It's one of the biggest storm that has been seen in over a century. So there are only 2 ships left that they can choose from. Drensala Vis, which is Marquesian for the luck of the mother, and Ever Onward. So they decide to go with Drensala Vis because it just feels appropriate with Ford's connection to the Wild Mother. They speak with the captain of the ship, Captain Adela, who is completely on board straight away. She's like, a fight? Yes. Will I get paid? Sweet. I probably would have done it anyway. And so she commands the crew to start getting their supplies ready, getting the ship ready to sail. I think no matter which ship they chose, this is what the outcome would have been. The captain would have been like, yes, absolutely, because it's a one-shot and we got to get things moving. We got to get them out into the ocean as quick as possible. While this is being organized, Caleb flies off to Yusa's tower, the Tide Peak Tower. Yusa gives him some potions of healing, and oh no, you know it's gonna be a tough fight when the DM starts handing out potions of healing. Caleb rejoins the party, but of course he picks up a charcuterie plate from the Lava Chateau because, you know, priorities. Mighty Nine assemble the ship and they ready themselves for the battle.
To unfinished business.
To sealing the deal.
Uk'otoa.
It's still a little bit of a journey, so they do get a long rest in. It was probably very much needed. And during this long rest, Kingsley seeks out Yasha and Bo to talk with them a little bit about Molly.
I mean, you're still kind of an insufferable asshole, just like Molly was.
Thank you.
And Lucian.
So I've been told.
But
Politely.
I can see Jester, and I can see Ford. And
Thank
I
you.
can see Caduceus.
Thank you.
And the way that they're rubbing off on you.
I realized at the beginning that I was running from everything that had happened before, and that's something that the other 2 had done, and so it was probably something I didn't want to do again, which is why I'm asking. If you think of them as parents, I've been told that the best thing you can do is do just slightly better than them.
I'm really glad we got some time to address this, even if it was just this short little, 5 minutes or so, because I imagine Kingsley is grappling with a lot of baggage. It can't be easy having to remake yourself again, learn who you are when you are surrounded by people who keep looking at you strangely because you are inhabiting the body of their dead friend. So yeah, I'm glad there was a little bit of an allusion to that and a little bit of nod, and it was really sweet to hear Kingsley talk about how he sees Caduceus regularly and talks to Caduceus because Caduceus is the only one who doesn't look at him like that. And also it's funny because Caduceus is also Taliesin's character. I'm just like Taliesin sitting at home, role-playing, talking one character to the other, and it's just him. They complete their long rest, and just before dawn, the wind picks up, the waves grow choppy, and they hear the sound of cannon fire from other ships in the region. This is it! It's happening, people! We've been together for a few months now, and everything's been going really great. We just gel so well together, and everyone is so impressed at my D&D games because they're just, so sparkling. They have such a sparkling personality, and we always seem to be on the same page. In fact, things have been going so well that we've decided to make an addition to our little family. I've just got so much love to give, so I just thought, why not? And my next character is going to be a rogue, so I really need a couple more D6s for my sneak attack. I mean, yeah, I would really recommend Only Crits if you're sort of looking for the next love of your life. These dice, well, they've really changed my life. Fall in love with your own set of beautiful dice from Only Crits. Use the link in the description and the code LUNA at checkout to get 12% off your order, plus each purchase comes with a free D&D adventure. They approach the storm on this beautiful map with the lights kind of making the patterns of the waves just so cool. I'm so intensely jealous of all of the maps in this. One day I'll have maps like this for my home game. Gonna slowly build up my collection. And they begin to make their preparations. Ford casts water breathing on everybody, Veth fashions a fluffer nutter, and Jester casts water walk and also control weather to try and settle down the storm a little bit.
You are controlling the weather versus a demigod also controlling the weather.
Yeah,
So we're gonna have to roll off for the
Grapple.
effect.
Roll.
I need you to go ahead and roll a d20 for me and add your spell modifier, which is your wisdom modifier.
Guidance.
Thanks.
Can you guidance yourself?
Natural 20!
It's a natural 20! Beat that, demigod!
What's my what?
I can't believe that she beat Ukatoa. It's absolutely wild. And this does help to settle the storm somewhat. It sort of downgrades it from like a torrential nightmare to heavy rain. And it also becomes useful later because some of Ukatoa's abilities are about controlling the weather. And so it downgrades the DC for those abilities, like the strength saves that the players have to make. There are some other spells cast and some more preparations made. And then we hear from Ukatoa himself. Ukatoa.
Come. Feed my anger and drink of the deep. These waters have ever been mine. You trespass, and shall be made an example.
What the shit?
He's so much scarier in this size than in the Ukatoa game.
Look at this mini! Oh my god! I want it so bad. It's so cool. This has been painted by Iron Tusk Minis, who has done a lot of the minis for Critical Role. Highly recommend following them on Instagram if you're not already. And what is really cool is that directly following the episode, Critical Role, in conjunction with WizKids, announced that you can buy this mini. You can buy it for yourself and you can get it painted or unpainted. It doesn't have as many sections as Matt used. Matt had like 2 to 3 extra mid-sections, I think, which is a little disappointing, but I imagine it would be kind of expensive otherwise. It has 3 sections, like the head, the middle, and the tail. Oh, I want it so bad. Okay, but enough rapturing about the mini, because combat begins! Ukatoa sends a tidal wave over the ship, which all of them fail except for Yasha. It has a DC of 22. Oof. And he uses his first lair action, which is called Anger of the Storm. All of the eyes along Ukatoa's body begin to glow, and it's unclear at this point what this ability is doing, but as we later learn, essentially the eyes are like charging up these fury points, and once they reach a certain threshold, an ability is unleashed, which is calling lightning down all over the battlefield. By damaging the eyes, the party can reduce that fury, but it is harder to hit the eyes because they have a higher armor class. So it's this really fun kind of to and fro of the party trying to work out if they should be hitting the body or if they should be hitting the eyes. Ford flies over and strikes one of the eyes using his Hexblade's Curse, which is a power that was granted by the pact that Ford made with Ukatoa.
You use my own power against me. Why can I not rob it from you?
Of course, he cannot rob it from Ford because the Wild Mother intervened and is granting him the ability to use these powers. Ukatoa grapples Ford with one of its tentacles, Kingsley casts a brand of castigation, and Bo's superhero leaps directly onto Ukatoa, attempting to stun it, and I was very happy that Matt's like, no, you can't stun this creature, it's massive, and it's like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. She does manage to extract aspects though, which is her ability where she can find out all the different sort of mechanical things about the monster, and learns that it is mostly immune to almost all the conditions, but it does take any kind of elemental damage, and it has to have magical weapons doing damage. Yasha runs out onto the water thanks to Jester's water walk, but unfortunately misses both of her attacks, and then Caleb...
And just when I hit here, Massive blue dragon appears in the sky.
Oh, shit.
Adult, 40 feet, looks reminiscent of
Brimstone?
yes, no, Thalashis from the Happy Fun Ball. Only bigger than Thalashis was.
Let's go!
Aha, so this reveals what 9th level spell Caleb took. There was a lot of discussion about whether it would be Wish or True Polymorph. But it is Shape Change. The neat thing about this spell is that when you cast it, you keep your wisdom, your intelligence, and your charisma, but you take on the strength, constitution, and dexterity of the creature. Plus, you retain all of your class features as long as the form that you shape change into would reasonably be able to do them. So dragons are already spellcasters, so Caleb can cast all of his usual spells. Veth attacks one of the eyes with her voltaic bow, rolling a natural 20 and doing 81 points of damage. Hell yeah, rogues! And as the eye begins to bleed, all of the eyes begin to dim slightly, showing that effect of them reducing the fury. Jester casts Dawn, and then it is Ukutoa's turn to unleash a bunch of attacks, almost swallowing Bow, and unleashing the lair action Battering Winds, which makes everything but the water difficult terrain. Ford casts a Cone of Cold, Kingsley slashes, Bow pops, the cannons fire! Yasha lights up her new tattoo, which a lot of you pointed out in the comments. I completely missed it last week when I was talking about the new illustrations for the characters. She does have this new tattoo. It's kind of hidden in the picture by her scars. So this tattoo is from a feat, which is the Aberrant Dragon Mark feat from the Eberron setting book, and it gives the cantrip Thunderclap. Jester invokes Duplicity, and because she's 17th level, she now has 4 duplicates.
And they're all just gonna scream out, "Hey, man, we're all here! Now it's a party! Here we go! All of them at the same time.
Ukutoa casts another Tidal Wave, and only Caleb succeeds, so they all take a stack of damage, and then we see what happens when that Fury ability of the eyes finally charges up.
The eyes flare the brightest you've seen them. And they flare to a bright yellow, almost a white coloration before you feel the electricity in the air. 6 bolts of lightning strike down from the sky.
Bo uses her debilitating barrage to make Ukutoa vulnerable to lightning damage, which is very helpful because Caleb's dragon does lightning damage.
Through, you watch as the stream comes firing out of the dragon's mouth through the center of the jaw and kind of blasts this dark spot through, blasts out the back and strikes the other part of its hide.
Ukutoa uses his control minion ability to turn forward on Jester, who attacks her, but thankfully it only lasts for 1 round, thank goodness, and then it's Jester's turn.
And I'm going to look at Ford and I'm going to say, I think this is what you call character growth. And I'm going to cast Mass Heal from my duplicates.
Oh, shit.
Oh, what? You set up a network?
The people on the boat
So
and the
you
other
can
group.
up to 700 hit points, divided as you wish.
She is the healer.
Mass Heal is the 9th level spell that Jester took. It means you can do up to 700 points of healing spread out as you like among your companions. And Leah made a joke about it being more healing than Jester did during the entire campaign, but Crit Role Stats looked it up and they recorded that she did 1,844 points of healing, across the entire campaign. But 700 points is still a pretty high percentage of that. Ukutoa strikes back once again, biting Bo with a natural 20 and doing almost the exact amount of damage that Jester just healed her for, and swallowing Bo. Kingsley activates the new sword, Fane of the Spire, rolling a natural 20 and doing a stack of damage, and Ukutoa is looking a little worried now. Bo, using her magic item, the Cloak of the Mountebank, manages to Dimension Door out of the stomach, an absolutely clutch use of that spell, and then Yasha attacks using Reckless Attacks.
Now, Yasha, you're guiding this, but I'm asking Mighty Nine, how do you want to do this?
I want to take some of the tentacles and wrap them and hold them in place.
Okay.
Ford! He's all yours!
The clouds open up slightly. You see energy strike. A bolt of lightning hits Yasha, and it causes your muscles to lock into place. The strength of the Stormlord helping you hold Ukutoa's body in place. You can see it's trying to writhe and pull and sink below, but Yasha's holding it like an anchor.
Caleb, I need the lightning! And I would float up and start flying towards the head of Ukutoa, but holding out the Star Razor for Caleb like a target.
Caleb Dragon is going to fly. He's going to wheel around and go. And then he's going to fly up into the air, and you see him go like 50, 60, 70 feet in the air, and that blue dragon goes. Suddenly you see a massive turtle shell, and a dragon turtle drops out of the sky and goes on Ukatoa's head, and then just rolls into the water.
I would just unleash all 4 Eldritch Blasts into the section right behind his skull, like,
Flying through the air.
and just hit it, yeah.
I see it trying to run away. I'm trying to get away. I'm going to float right up, get on its back, and just start cutting off a piece of the skin so I can have some leather. And as it's going, I also flare the brand, and the big, dark, bleeding red eye on its head that's been holding it together just starts doing the psychic damage because it's trying to flee and does not get to.
Jester's going to dance over to the edge of the boat, and while everything's happening, she's just gonna reach out her hand and inflict a wound.
Bo is going to vault off of the front of the side of the ship over here onto this little mound.
That
Gonna
Yasha's
once again just dig my claws into the eye. I'm gonna like find that nerve and pull out that sensitivity to lightning damage to just really harness whatever lightning blast Ford is about to come at him with.
Got it.
I'm gonna use the rigging to swing down through the portal.
Yes!
And then when I pop out there, I throw the fluffernutter right to intercept the arc of his sword coming down.
Yes.
I'll pick it up and say, these were never your ocean's pretender. They belong to her. Daddy's calling.
And right as the blade comes down, the fluffernutter blows your ass into the air.
Yay! This was one of my favorite scenes ever. I loved seeing them all describe how they contributed to the attack. It's something that I would really love to see incorporated into D&D combat more, or like trying to work out the best way to incorporate it in my home games. I'm very intrigued by the idea of having more combo options for a D&D battle. I think I've talked about this before, especially Legend of Vox Machina really inspired me because I loved how they showed all of the different players contributing to the one sort of attack by, you know, buffing their abilities, stacking them all on top of each other. So anyway, I just wanted to rant about that because I absolutely love that scene. I think it was a fitting way to end such a huge part of the Mighty Nein story. However, they can't kill the beast. All they can do is seal him away once again. So Caleb turns into a giant dragon turtle, and Ford and he swim down to the depths, chasing Ukatoa down into the bottom of the ocean. Ukatoa is slowly healing up, so they sort of have a time pressure. Ford calls to Zahir, and that mark on his chest starts to burning away his armor, and he sends all of that energy into Ukatoa, sealing him underneath the ocean, and 3 cloven crystals once again float before him. He grabs them, casts Fast Step to get back to Caleb, and then they head to the surface, beginning the cycle again. So Ukatoa is still out there. He's still going to be causing mischief. He's still going to be trying to get his followers to unleash him again. So I do wonder if we're going to see Ukatoa come back in a future campaign. I've said before that I don't always love watching combats, especially really long ones. I find it really hard to focus in them. My brain is just like zzz at too many numbers, but I really loved this combat. I thought Matt did such a great job of making it really interesting and varied with all of the legendary actions and the lair actions. I think all of the cast, I mean, they always do, but it felt like they did such an especially good job of describing how they were using their abilities. Yeah, all around, absolutely excellent boss battle. They head back to Nicodranas with Captain Adela and all of her crew, who thankfully all survived. And luckily for Ford, the Wild Mother is actually able to drive Zahir out of him to end that pact, which I think was a really nice touch, because it absolutely would have sucked if Ford had finally managed to cut ties with Ukatoa forever, closing off that storyline only to end up in service to a worse creature, the creature who created Ukatoa. And we go into a little epilogue to sort of find out what the next steps are for everyone. So Ford takes the 3 cloven crystals, he gives 1 to the Cobalt Soul, he puts 1 in the volcanic lair where Vokodo was on Rumblecusp, and he keeps 1 for himself. And then he works to purge the orphanage where he grew up of all of the corruption and black market dealings. Bo continues to work keeping an eye on Ludinus and the Cerberus Assembly and enjoying life with Yasha. Yasha helps Veth with the camp, and Veth continues her work with that summer camp. Jester opens an art studio called Dicks and Other Things. She basically becomes Exandrian Banksy, which is very funny, and I wonder if we're going to see that pop up, like, if campaign 3 we go to Wildmount, if we go to Nicodranus, if they're going to see kind of any jester creations around the city. Kingsley visits Caduceus again and continues to work for Stone's Throw Shipping until he eventually steals one of the ships, goes to Darktoe, and becomes the Plank King. And Caleb returns to Rexentrum, where he does take up that permanent teaching position that we talked about last week, and he teaches workshops at the adventuring camp, and...
So, Caleb Widogast, I hear there is a story you have to tell me about a grand sea adventure that you went on.
How is it I always have so much scruff and you have none?
Well, let's just say it's Johassian good looks.
Well, I'm sure you have tales of your own. Looking forward to hear.
Come, let us talk.
Come, dear.
He gives you a kiss and walks into the room with you as the door closes.
Yes, I knew it. I knew Matt wouldn't leave us hanging with no Essek. I was very happy for just that little scene, that little slice of happiness for Caleb. I did feel sad though, saying goodbye to these characters all over again. It's sort of like we just had them for such a brief amount of time. But there is hope that we'll see them again. Exandria is a big world. There is a lot to explore. I mean, there are still other story elements from campaign 2 that we didn't see, and there's a lot happening in the world. And maybe some of them will show up in campaign 3, who knows? And speaking of campaign 3, that's the bright side. We get to see Bell's Hells again next week, and I'm really excited to see what they get up to. If you want to catch my campaign 3 videos, make sure you're subscribed. We're almost at 15,000 subscribers, and if we could reach that goal by the end of this year, I think that would be just a wonderful way to round out 2022. So yes, don't forget to like and subscribe and all of those good YouTube things. If you need a refresher about what happened last in campaign 3, you can catch my episode 40 breakdown here. Thank you so much to my patrons and YouTube members. They really help me do this thing that I'm doing. Welcome to new patrons Michael, Cyberfox, Jordan, Mark, Dean, Philip, Riceage, and a special thank you to Yasha, Rob, Tony, Mark, Gemini, Chad, and Barrenby. And thank you to Only Crits for sponsoring this video. Until next time, bye!